Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the videos. This is another paid request, this time from Mark. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, reviews, commentaries, reactions, tier list, topics, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And actually, Mark wanted me to review the Blu-ray of Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Not the movie, which I do like the movie. It's an entertaining, fun creature feature with, yes, Jada Pinkett's in it, but you also have Billy Zane, you got William Sadler, you got the great, legendary Dick Miller, may he rest in peace. And it's directed by Ernest Dickerson, who did Surviving the Game with Ice-T and Rutger Hauer. It's got some good makeup effects, some nice bits of gore. It's got a nice energetic pep in its step. Very fun film. Now, the Blu-ray, pretty good Blu-ray for what it is. You have a 9-minute Q&A with Dick Miller, Rick Baker, and Ernest Dickerson. Then Rick Baker was there because there was also, it was a showing with Gremlins 2 as well. And Dick Miller and Rick Baker dealt with Gremlins 2, and then Dick Miller and Ernest Dickerson dealt with Demon Knight. It was fun for what it was. I mean, it's pretty short. You get to at least hear from Dick Miller, may he rest in peace. You have a steel gallery. You have 2 commentaries. One with Ernest Dickerson, which was a fine commentary. It's moderated by Michael Felsher. He's a solid moderator. Just does try to keep the conversation going. Because there are times where he'll ask a question, Ernest Dickerson will answer, but you tell they're kind of expecting, okay, can you go further with that? Like, hey Ernie, can you talk a little bit more? Can you go a little bit more in depth? So once in a while it seemed like he was trying to pull teeth, but overall it was a decent casual conversation about the making of the film. Then you have one with the effects guys, pretty self-explanatory. I didn't listen too much of that. I guess it depends just how hardcore you are and knowing about the effects. And really the major theme is the making of, which is 39 minutes long. Nice length to it. And this is when Scream Factory would at this time, they would usually have a documentary that would have all these interviews put together, as what Michael Felsher and his production Red Shirt Pictures like to do. They have all these interviews, put them together, and make a nice cohesive story of the making of this movie, or that movie, or that movie. They don't really do that anymore. And that's why you don't see a lot of Michael Felsher or even Sean Clark dealing with Scream Factory. Number one, because Scream Factory has pussied out. They've gotten a lot cheaper. They'll hire these no-names to make these very lazy location videos, which you could tell is a miles difference between Sean Clark when he did Horror's Hallowed Grounds and much more articulate and gives a much fuller picture of the story and much more entertaining. And same with Scream Factory, and even Sean Clark mentioned this. Scream Factory does not want documentaries. They want people to look to the back and go interview with this person, interview with this person, interview with this person. Like if this was done today, it'd be interview with Billy Zane, interview with William Sadler, interview with Ernest Dickerson, interview with Dick Miller, interview with effects guy. Because it makes it seem like, wow, you have a lot of stuff there. But then when you're watching it, you have to see the same damn opening. Justin Beam or whoever the fuck else does it. I know Sean Clark doesn't like Justin Beam. Or at least doesn't like his, I don't know personally, but at least doesn't like his stuff, which I don't blame him. It just comes off as more lazy and more of a chore to get through each of these. Because each interview has their own opening, has their own closing credits. Sometimes information seems repeated. While this just more of a better flow to have it in this documentary format. Just here you get how it began, that the people behind Tales from the Crypt, they wanted 3 movies. And the third one was Bordello Blood. I think one, I guess, was that movie Ritual, whatever it was. And the other was From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn was supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt movie. But then apparently Quentin Tarantino wanted more money. They said no. Which would have been funny if they had From Dusk Till Dawn and Bordello Blood, which has similarities in plots. So I'm like, okay. But it's Quentin Tarantino, so I can see why you would want his script. But he wanted too much money. They should have paid for it, but they didn't. So they just got another script. And even they admit that the script itself isn't usually what a Tales from the Crypt episode would be. The movie's more about, you have the hero's journey, dealing with the villain, passing along his services to another person so they could be a hero for many years to come. And it's battle of good versus evil. It's not usually Tales from the Crypt episodes. It's more about some moral quandary, dilemma, a person doing a bad thing and getting their comeuppance, karma, however you want to put it, judgment, payback, revenge. But at the same time, it was still a fun enough script that they grabbed it and went through with it. And they cast well, and that's what helps, is that you have Billy Zane, and he's interviewed, he seems fairly proud of the film. He was balding. A lot of times you wear a wig. He came in with a suitcase going, which would you like me to wear? And Ernest Dickerson said, I actually like you bald. Go with that. And Billy Zane talks about how it was free to improvise. Apparently like the bit where this brush came out of his mouth like a ton. He was able to improv that. And he looked at it as sort of an evil version of the genie from Aladdin. Dick Miller, it's nice to hear from him. He talks about how Ernest Dickerson, he was sweet as a director. He was able to let me go and be free. You also have, like I said, you have William Sadler. You have one of the actresses in the movie be interviewed. And Billy Zane I've always liked. William Sadler I've always liked since he was the bad guy in Die Hard 2, Death, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Because Billy Zane would go on to do Titanic. They even mentioned that they heard a rumor that one of the reasons he might have gotten Titanic was because of his performance in this. But that's the rumor some of these people heard. A lot of praise for the cast. Ernest Dickerson talks about Thomas Hayden Church. How he would say stuff like, you're the best smelling guy I ever know. Just showcases humor. Charles Fleischer, who was the voice of Roger Rabbit, he was in the film. He's interviewed. He seems proud of the film. The girl he had to kiss, she's interviewed, and she mentions how this nice story where he went up to her and said, well, my wife is here, and see over there's my wife, and she's here, just to make sure that we don't use ton during our kiss scene. So just to make her more calm and give her a laugh. Jada Pinkett is not interviewed. I'm not surprised. She seems pretty stuck up. She would never think about talking about this movie. They talked about how she had one haircut and color. Then she arrives on set and all of a sudden she's blonde and she has short hair. I'm like, this is a lead role and a motion pictures don't go in theaters. You don't think you want to let people know that you don't want to be changing your hair and your hair color? Looking blonde like Dennis Rodman? And then apparently that she would just go back to her trailer and they say work out. Probably work out her love poems to Tupac. Sorry, I do not like Jada. She does good job in the movie, to be fair. As a person, don't like her at all. Especially with what we know nowadays about her. She's a crazy bitch. Can't wait for G.I. Jane 2. They even interviewed the actor who played the sheriff, who's in the film for like 5 minutes. He's in the documentary for like 30 seconds, pretty much explains his death scene. I like hearing about the the behind the scenes. There's not too many struggles. Like they shot in a hangar, which was a smart idea. That way they could shoot during the daytime and still have it seem like it's night, so people had normal hours. It's just they had to deal with these birds. And they shoot in the air before camera, so that the birds can keep quiet. And that the effects guys, at first they had a budget, and then the studio said, actually, we're not going to have demons. It's going to be people in sunglasses. And if they put their sunglasses down, there'll be like a bit of light or fire in their eyes. And the effects guy's like, well, wait a minute. Look, you can't do that. It's called Demon Night. Let's go back and... Instead of full-blown creatures, they got thin people and then did makeup on them. Which looks pretty neat. Does look pretty neat. They tell about the original ending where Billy Zane has fire over him. I know the audience didn't really like that. I don't blame them, because it does look like shit. I think the one they have now, much better. So it's nice, concise documentary, almost 40 minutes long. You get some nice pieces of information, nice nuggets of information to shave off of the production. Everybody seems fairly proud of the film. Would have been nice to hear a little bit more from William Sadler. You hear from him a little bit, but I don't know, just would have been nice to hear from him a little bit more. Like, what made him say yes to the script? What about the script did you enjoy? They show a little, like, he says a little bit, but maybe if there's a bit more to it. I was waiting, hoping that Billy Zane would mention, he's been in horror films before, like Critters, and sort of his take on the genre, but that wasn't the case. I would like to have heard a bit more about the box office when the film came out, like for Ernest Dickerson. Like, did it help his career? Was it a nice showcase where people were they okay with the boxes? Were they disappointed with the box office? Did they ever ask you, Ernie, to do other Tales of the Crypt stuff, or not really? But again, the people seem fairly proud of it. I'm fine Jada Pinkett's not there because I don't want to see her sorry ass. They get a lot of people involved with it, and again, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Overall, it's a pretty good documentary, and that's really the big gist of the Blu-ray. Picture quality looked fine, audio was fine. So yeah, I mean, if you like the film, it's worth the watch just to have the movie on Blu-ray, and good making of documentary. And they definitely seem much more positive here, because I remember Bordello of Blood. It's a lot more negative, especially on Dennis Miller. Pretty much everybody says he was a dick. Almost everybody in that documentary called Dennis Miller a dickhead. But they seem like they got along a lot better on this one. It seems like a much more cohesive production, and that probably helped make for a much better movie. Because this is a much better movie than Bordello of Blood. Which is ironic, because the one thing I like about Bordello of Blood is Dennis Miller, but apparently he was the one making the most trouble. But like I say, if you like the film, it's definitely Blu-ray worth getting. I don't know if it's still in print from Stream Factory, but it is worth a watch. That's another thing I wish they could have talked about I wish they could have delved a bit more into. I guess you can with the commentary with Ernest Dickerson, but in the documentary, a little bit more about the actual Crypt Keeper puppet and the scenes at the beginning and end, incorporating that into it and how that all worked out. So little bits here and there I wish I could have heard a little bit more on, but overall, pretty solid release. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.